Calm down. I'm not asking you not to have sex after the age of 50, not least because I'm 49, I'll be 50 in July, and then I'll stop. Not at all. But if you don't take certain precautions, it can be fatal, okay? Just as it can be fatal if you're watching this video here and you're not subscribed to our channel, okay? So scroll down from the comments, subscribe to our channel, click on the little bell to activate notifications. This little bell is important for you to be reminded every time there's a new video here. Leave a like and send this video to all your WhatsApp groups, especially those of senior citizens, okay? The elderly. You're all very welcome to this video here. And in today's video, folks, the 50+ generation, or also called the silver generation, I'm going to show them, many of you here, that most of them are getting further and further away from that traditional image of grandpa and grandma, aren't they? Most of these people here, over 50, have taken care of their children, are traveling on their own. They're still active, working, having fun, but do you know what else they want? To live their sexuality, to live their eroticism to the full. Remembering the following: when we were younger, and I put myself in this situation a bit, when we were younger, we valued the quantity of sex much more than the quality, right? I remember that my friends and I used to count, oh, I've had 2, I've had 3, I've had 10, but today we don't worry so much about that, do we? So today the question is more about quality. How is my sex with my partner, with With the passage of time, we mature, we transform this way of looking at sex, pleasure, both men and women. So you start to worry more about long-term relationships. And time also brings the marks of aging, such as a drop in hormones, especially testosterone, which is responsible for libido in both sexes and causes major physical and emotional upheavals. After the age of 50, many women begin to suffer from vaginal dryness, mood swings, hot flushes, weight gain at the time of the menopause, and these people are haunted, especially men, by the ghost of impotence. That's better, isn't it? Impotence. Men also suffer from sarcopenia. They start to lose muscle mass, their shins get thinner, their bellies grow. But for all these cases, science has proved to be a great ally. Since the invention of erectile dysfunction drugs such as Viagra, the sex lives of people aged 50 and over have taken a turn for the better. If you don't have a sex life after the age of 50, you're probably not taking adequate treatment. The big problem is that these people aren't taking care of a few details, which is why sexual activity at this age can be fatal. And I'm going to tell you all about it at the end of the video, okay? But at this stage of life, the view of sex and eroticism isn't just mechanical. It's not just about staying, I'm going to fuck. It's not like that anymore. You have to bring the relationship back to eroticism, seduction, and romance, which are details that will stimulate libido and desire in the long term. There are also psychological and emotional problems that are related to desire and arousal. Sex therapy can help, but unfortunately there is still a lot of resistance to couples seeking this type of relationship, especially men. As for women, many don't know their bodies. They don't know their erogenous zones. What turns them on? Many don't masturbate because they think it's wrong, it's a sin. Many are ashamed to tell their partner how they like it. There is a culture of a macho society that has always put a stop to women's pleasure. But since the invention of the contraceptive pill, which is a poison, sex and pleasure are, thank God, no longer taboo, especially among older people. But despite the advances in women's struggle, many still want to conquer their orgasm. There are many women who follow me here who don't even know what orgasm is. There are women who think that orgasm is the cousin of the clitoris and that one day it will arrive at their house. Some think that this is impossible. For decades, entering the stage of maturity and being older meant not having the right to pleasure. After all, they created the idea that there was nothing left to do, that age had passed. So today I see a lot of prejudice from children themselves who don't want to talk about sex with their elderly mother. Grandchildren and grandparents themselves have a hard time with relationships. Grandchildren can't imagine that their grandmother is thinking about sex because she's an older person. But it's not like that anymore. People think, how can such an old person indulge in such pleasure? So coming of age used to make you feel useless, lost because of retirement, not knowing what else to do, going to a square. You've dedicated your whole life to your family. You've supported your whole family. You've reached old age and you no longer have the right to have sex. You're obliged to suffer from empty nest syndrome. In other words, you've lost your role as a mother and father, and your job now is to look after grandchildren who will spawn in your house. So this mentality is changing in an intense way. The 50-something generation wants to show that it is an unlimited generation and is deconstructing taboos, deconstructing prejudices in all spheres of life. So the first step to all this is for you to start accepting the marks of time. You have to accept that your dick, men who accompany me, is no longer the same. You have to accept that your vagina is going to be drier, that you may have gotten fatter, that your skin and body are sagging, but that with the increase in life expectancy and with all the medical technology, supplements and hormones, it's possible to slow this down. The second step is to reinvent yourself. Long-standing couples reinvent themselves, put aside these taboos, which, by the way, shouldn't even exist anymore. So men and women in this age group feel empowered to innovate, and they are available for discovery to start discovering eroticism. Regardless of whether they can penetrate, many couples no longer penetrate. You start using touch, smell, noises, moans, music, spicy words in your ear. All of this is a strategy. There's a phrase attributed to the poet Vinicius de Moraes, which goes like this: as long as I have a tongue and a finger, no woman frightens me. But you women who follow me here, in a way you often scare men, and you're scaring them every day, even more so when you arrive full of attitude, full of health, and you know it. A lot of husbands are paunchy, withered, tired, and washed up. Then you arrive all healed up, skinny, in good spirits, taking care of yourselves, and the bastards are finished. Now, another point that this generation, 50 and over, highlights is their lust for life. So there's no more of that old stuff, right? Go to your room and I'll use you. Eita, today is the day. No. Couples over 50 are having sex in the living room, the bathroom, the kitchen, everywhere. So this maturity makes it safer. And it's important to maintain an active sex life because it preserves quality of life. It preserves emotional well-being. When you orgasm, several hormones are released, including endorphin, which is responsible for the sensation of pleasure. And oxytocin is the hormone that establishes bonds and trust. Then you say, Dr. Dayan, I'm single. So, calm down. Let me tell you about some scientific research. It's not Dayan who's talking, it's scientific research. The scientific journal, the Journal of Urology, concluded that regular use of a vibrator, that big dildo, plastic rubber by women, provides benefits that go far beyond sexual pleasure. The research revealed data from 558 articles on the use of vibrators for medical benefits. Only 21 articles were used in the research, and the scientists came to the following conclusion: that the use of vibrators in relation to health helps to strengthen the pelvic floor, which is that part under the belly. This reduces pain in the vulva, which is that fusca hood of the vagina, that fat cap. It reduces urinary incontinence, which is when you can't hold your pee in, because the internal muscles of the vagina are worked when you come, they contract. So cheers to the sex shops, which help keep the fire burning. Now, as I told you at the beginning of this video, there is a worrying side to this story of people over 50 having sex. So what is it? Unfortunately, at this age, cardiovascular disease begins, so the coronary arteries of people over 50 can become more clogged. So imagine you don't go to the gym, you don't do a treadmill, you don't go to the cardiologist, and you decide to have a night of wild sex. It starts there. Many People die at the moment of coming. You didn't do an exercise test, you didn't do anything, you have a heart attack on the spot. Worse still, the old man decides to have a one-night stand with his old lady. He takes Viagra. He's never been to the cardiologist. Viagra in a person who has coronary heart disease is fatal. I've seen people who were killed who died in motels, mainly men. So you, young girl who's going out with a guy, be careful. Demand an exercise test. Because otherwise you could leave the motel in a hearse. I'm serious. Talk to him. Look, let's open up a game here because otherwise life will get worse. Okay? But that's not all. We joke around, of course, but it's true. There's a lot of truth here, you know. There's also a very serious problem, okay? Very serious. Oh, you're not supposed to use Viagra? I'm not saying that. I'm saying that you need to see a cardiologist before you think about having a night of wild sex. If you haven't been to the cardiologist, stay still, very still, daddy and mommy. Don't go on a rampage, my friend, because it's a heavy thing, right? Now, what's also worrying is that there's a fact about the sex lives of older people, which is that they're infected with STIs, which are sexually transmitted infections. We know that this section of the population used to be invisible to society because they were considered unproductive. In the past, these people didn't have a sex life, but as life expectancy has increased, sexuality has also changed. But this generation is not noticed by the media or the health community. According to the Ministry of Health's HIV and AIDS Epidemiological Bulletin, there has been an alarming increase in the number of new HIV cases in individuals over the age of 50. This is when we compare it with the years 2007, 2009, and 2019. In 2007 and 2019, 383 HIV cases were reported in this population, while in 2019 the number of registered cases increased to 5,469, more than double in the heterosexual, i.e. man-woman. Women are unfortunately more vulnerable. Why is that? Because the woman keeps the secretions like semen. The woman keeps the secretions. If the man comes inside, I'm saying this openly for you to understand. She keeps the secretions inside her body for a certain amount of time until she washes them out. Sometimes they don't even come out. She can't get them all out of her cervix. The man, on the other hand, has finished, goes there, washes. He's finished bathing there. He's removed the secretions immediately. The woman has a greater chance of catching HIV. Now, when you analyze a homosexual relationship, in other words, man with man, when I say male homosexual, the passive man, in other words, the one who gives the dick, who receives the dick in the dick, he becomes more vulnerable because he works like a woman. Why is that? Because he receives the secretions, increasing the risk of transmitting these infections. In addition, from behind, both the woman and the passive man have a greater chance. Why? Because in addition to secretions, during this act of going in and out, sometimes the excited couple breaks the hemorrhoidal vessels. This mixes secretion with blood and becomes an environment ripe for contamination. So the lack of a health education strategy, the lack of knowledge, are the main causes of this increase in infection in the elderly. Apart from the shame they feel about asking for condoms, to buy condoms as they get older, there's also something called immunosenescence, which is the aging of the elderly person's immune response. So this process can also have an impact on sexually transmitted infections, which manifest themselves in older people in a more serious way than in younger people. So people, more than ever, we have to include this section of the population in campaigns on sexually transmitted diseases so that sexual practice is safe and happy. Well, my friends, I'll stop here now. Stay with God. Thank you very much for your participation. Love to you.